is more like a one-stop shop for many families. The basic premise is that to find most therapies that you can under one roof.
Clients here at A Total Approach we see anywhere from newborns, where we do things like an infant massage, all the way through older adults, because really at any age we are able to make changes in the brain.
From developmental delay to sensory processing disorder, to autism, to learning differences, to reading disabilities, to genetic disorders, brain injury, Down syndrome, and the cerebral palsy.
So whether a child who is 5 is coming to us with sensory difficulties, or a 10-year-old is coming to us with attentional difficulties, or a 16-year-old is coming to us with reading difficulties, or an older adult comes to us who just wants to sharpen their skills, there's always something that we can do to help improve the way the brain is processing and giving them the information that they need to be successful.
Everyone was so welcoming, and all of our questions were answered so well and so comprehensively. That we felt like a part of this team and a part of the family, like right away, immediately, and so did my daughter.
And I called, and Angela was the one that actually took my call, and she spent an hour on the phone with me, and it was like she had been the mother of my child. She knew my child in and out just from the few things that I had told her. And it was the first time that I had hope, because we really couldn't understand why he was doing the things he was doing.
I've realized over the years that a big integral part of child development goes missing when we're only focusing on certain parts. And I think for me that's where the passion comes in with building a total approach, is that it truly must be harnessing of all the facets of the child.
We are looking at the whole individual. We are not isolating what's happening with their hands because we want to look at handwriting, or what's happening with their eyes because we look at vision, or what's happening just with their senses. As individuals, we are whole people. There are so many components to us, and it's really important to make sure that we consider all of those angles. So a big part of what we do here at A Total Approach is work as a team and really get ideas as a team.
So when I look at a child, I always think about what might be happening in terms of their sensory needs, in terms of their sensory systems. We have the OTs here who are experts on that, so then I can go to the OTs and ask them about this, or refer the child's parents to the OT so that we can get more clear picture of the child. That's the beauty of the team approach.
Well, what I love about working here at Total Approach is that we're continually learning new modalities, techniques, and strategies.
Cross-training occurs in many different ways. We bring them together on staff Saturdays, where we would get in a speaker, we would pay for the speaker to fly in, come and work just with our staff.
From executive functioning to reflex integration to sensory processing, vision, to help the staff have the updated skills.
During our Monday staff meetings, one of the great things that we get to do is have case studies. So we get to bring those children that we may be having a little bit of difficulty with or have questions about, and we bring it to the team. And as a team, what we're able to do is really look at this client and really talk about the issues that they're having and really brainstorm on the best way to approach treatment for this child.
Being a pediatric physical therapist, it's not just a job, and I don't feel that for anyone at A Total Approach, coming here is a job. I think there's a sense of community, there's a sense of caring, and there's a sense of truly always keeping what's best for the child in mind.
When we look at the child, we usually design an 18-month program. Not that every child needs 18 months of work, and some child might even need longer. But in a general sense, we try and talk about 6 months, 6 months, and 6 months. Phase 1 always starts off with a bottom-up approach that we're trying to recapture and reestablish the foundation of the first year of life.
Most times a top-down approach, what you're working on is working from the very high level of the brain, the cortex. And you're really working on a conscious awareness of the skill or the activity and being able to improve what you're doing based on that conscious awareness. Here at A Total Approach, what we really focus on is what's considered a bottom-up approach, which is a developmental approach.
The emphasis is on if there are holes and gaps in those basic foundational layers, the information that's learned falls basically into those holes. and then the child is not able to retrieve the information learned. So it's very important to build that scaffold in that first phase. When we do this kind of phase 1 approach, we usually use a smattering of different therapies, OT, PT, speech. We almost always use Tomatis sound therapy, not because we need the sound per se, that's the issue, but it's because the Tomatis program with the occupational therapy added to it is quite a global foundational program. We also mix it up with some DAR floor time work. And then when we finish that phase, we do a reassessment. And at that reassessment, we compare black and white what's happened with the child as they entered with the first evaluation, and now they're being reassessed. And the family then gets a black and white, this is what's changed, and this is what has occurred in the last 6 months.
All 3 of us were sitting there in tears because we had seen how much progress he had made over the past 6-7 months. It was unbelievable to us.
It was just an awesome day, a very successful day.
And he was so proud of himself.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the cute. He knew, you know.
Phase 2 goes into looking at, now that I have foundation, what skills do I need to kind of put on top of this foundation? And a very big component of this, in terms of executive functioning, in terms of functional occupational performance, is to look at timing. And interactive metronome comes to play a lot during this phase of work. We also do our ALP programs, our accelerated learning programs, which is a combination of using Tomatis first, then using interactive metronome, and then using Captain's Log as a third layer. We also can be using or continuing the work of DAR floor time. When we then finish this next 6 months of therapy, then we enter a third phase. Many of our clients don't need the third phase. They basically finish with those 2 phases, and they're often away in a functional capacity that is fruitful for them and functional for them. But the third phase is kind of what's ever left over. And very frequently the emotional piece is something that's still something to be worked on at that point.
We understood much more about him and why he behaves like this, which was a big question in our lives. As a family, now we are much calmer and happier and much more understand his behavior.
So we do get many clients who come from all around the world.
We get them from as far west as California in the United States, but we've had clients from South Africa, from Israel, United Kingdom, Canada.
Много съм изненадан, че в рамките на тази седмица чувствително се вижда подобрение.
But what's really nice and what's really interesting is that these concepts that we work on here are valid all around the world, and every client that we see can benefit from using a bottom-up sensory approach and really giving the system more feedback so it can better understand functionally what it's doing.
The school districts that come and see the children every year, they're amazed at the changes that they have seen in a year. Wow, this is not the same kid that I saw last year. I even had a psychologist tell me they saw Noah when he first started his Tomatis loop, and they saw him the following year after he had finished doing several loops of Tomatis. And they told me if I had to diagnose this kid today, I could not give this child an autism diagnosis at all.
The road to get here has not been easy. We've been really blessed with wonderful pediatricians who have tried their best from the medical standpoint. But what really worked for us was just reaching out and saying, hey, we're stuck. We're really, really stuck right now.
So there's no more being afraid of going to school. There's no more difficulty getting there. And he's also doing everything on his own. He required such a high level of support prior from us and from teachers, and now he's working very independently. He's able to organize his work, and he's one of the top students in his school academically.
We have always felt welcomed here. The quality of the therapists is top-notch. My son loves his therapists. He truly views them as basically family members. He talks about them at the dinner table.
This has just been another part of our home, and we feel very comfortable here, and Emily gets her needs met here.
I think she's had to face some challenges, and get over them, and I think with that for a child comes resilience. They get this empowerment, like, I know that was hard, and now it's not anymore, and now I can do anything.